I've said this before. There are 107 HBCUs in the United States. There are 230,000 students that go to those HBCUs. 20% of those students are non-black. So that means about 195 or so thousand of the students at HBCUs are black students. There are 1.6 million black students that attend PWIs in the United States. Okay, 1.6 million versus 230,000 total students out of 107. Now, when I listen to folk who are angry and upset with Deion Sanders, I thought about one of my staffers who came to me, and she was scared to tell me that she was taking a new job. And she told me she was leaving, and I said, well, why were you scared? She said, I thought you would be upset. I said, I've never been upset when somebody left. I said, and the reason I've never been upset when somebody left, because I always know no matter who you are, you can be replaced. I said, the only person that cannot be replaced is me, because I own it. Now, let me explain that. I don't get upset when somebody leaves. I've never gotten upset when the pastor left a church. I've never gotten upset when the editor of a paper or a place left. I've never done that, because the reality is, what I understand is, no institution dies or survives based upon one person. Now, the issue is not an institution dies when a person leaves. An institution dies when the new person comes in and does not handle their business. Now, so for folk, again, who need to understand this, okay, what we need to understand is this here. It's a whole bunch of black people right now commenting about Deion Sanders leaving an HBCU, and not now one of them work for a black-owned company. It's a lot of people who are commenting about Deion Sanders leaving who don't live in black neighborhoods. It's a lot of people right now who are commenting about Deion Sanders being a sellout when it comes to leaving Jackson State, and they make no affirmative decision to actually buy black. Now, see, it's real easy to focus on Deion, but not look at yourself and what you were doing. And so that's what gets me when people are upset. Now, what folk also have to understand is, everybody ain't built the same. I understand. When I was at CNN, they asked me to leave the Tom Jordan Morning Show, to leave TV One and all my books and my speeches, and I said no. I said, I'm not leaving my black stuff. Y'all haven't given me a daily show. You haven't given me the higher salary, so I'm not going to leave my stuff on a possible promise. I had a lunch with John Klein. John's a great guy. It was in 2009. He was the president of CNN US. He asked me, when you going to get done with all this other stuff, TV One and Tom Jordan? And I said, well, you gonna give me a 5-day-a-week show? There was no response. I said, well, I ain't leaving. Well, the next year, John Klein gets fired at CNN. I don't leave CNN until 2013. When I left CNN, I still had TV One, Tom Jordan, and all my other stuff. And so everybody out here is not committed specifically to working in black institutions. And that's fine. There are black people right now who are in media, who work at ABC and NBC and CBS, and they want to work in mainstream media. They are not committed to working in black-owned media. I made a conscious decision to do so. Now, Deborah, you look at Robin Roberts. She's making $20 million at Good Morning America. When you look at Al Roker, when you look at so many other different people, they're making multiple millions, and that's fine. I made a different decision in terms of what I wanted they would do with my life. And so understand that's the case. And so, Renita, you're absolutely right in terms of what Deion said and what he was saying. But also, it's also incumbent upon us in black institutions to also make decisions as to how we lead them. So let me give y'all an example. I didn't leave the Chicago Defender because CNN called me. I left Chicago Defender because the folks who own the Defender wanted the paper to be a small community paper. That wasn't my vision. I was trying to make the Chicago Defender into the nation's leading black media organization. They didn't want that. I said, I got to go. Now, but understand, for 20 years, the Chicago Defender lost money. It was a bad paper. It was called the Chicago Offender. I get there, we lose money my first year, make a profit my second year, make a profit my third year. Now, when I leave, the paper goes down after I leave. That ain't my fault. That's the folk who still own it and run it. And so, the challenge right now for Jackson State or for every SWAC school and for every HBCU is not to decry Deion. What you should be now saying is, who's going to be our new leader? What's the plan of action? And so, I never thought Deion was going to stay at Jackson State 3 or 4 or 5 years. The fact that he stayed 3 years is also surprising. And so the fact of the matter is, what we've got to learn to do in black institutions is, to Amakongo's point, stop sitting here looking for the savior, but also let's create multiple people who understand what we're doing and also what we're trying to build. Now, let me make this point as well. And so I made a point about giving. And so a lot of people came at me, well, how you trying to equate, black giving, and the national average for universities with giving is about 7%. And so these schools are doing this, and Jackson State's giving, according to the president of the Alumni Association, I interviewed Saturday, is at 13%. Then I had a brother who hit me up and he said, black students have a higher student debt ratio to white students, so therefore we can't afford to give. Okay. So let me walk through that. So I'm confused right now. So we say on one hand that HBCUs have been historically underfunded. Then we say we don't get the corporate support. So we don't get the corporate support, we don't get the state support, because again, for state HBCUs, but yeah, your private HBCUs. So when I said that we should be, if you're going to be upset with 87% of Jackson State alumni that don't give. Be upset with 95% of Florida A&M alumni that don't give. And go down the line. Claflin has the highest giving of any HBCU, and it's around 50+%. Then it's Spelman and the others. Morehouse's number, very low. Howard University's number is under 15. Now, when I criticize the giving rates, again, folk came back at me, Nicole Hannah-Jones and others, well, here's the average. I don't want to hear a damn thing about the average. Because when I say giving, I'm talking about a penny or higher. So when I got hit with, well, you should not equate the two, actually, I should. How can we, as black folks, be angry at Deion by saying he turned his back on an HBCU by going to a PWI, when we as black folks on a daily basis literally drive right past black businesses and give our money to white businesses? See, I'm trying to get y'all to think much bigger and broader. You cannot convince me that there's no, I don't care if you are an HBCU graduate, you cannot send $1 to your school. Now, look, I understand student debt ratio. I understand all of that. What I am saying is, when I talk to presidents and I talk to alumni presidents, and understand, we discussed this with a sister who works in the Jackson State administration. When they go to foundations, the first question they ask is, what's the giving of your alumni? That's the first question. Because they then say, if your alumni can't give, then how are you asking us to support you as well? And see, some of y'all watching right now going, see, here you go, you trying to deflect. No, I'm not. I'm trying to broaden this conversation. And that is this here. And then, of course, somebody else said, well, even if every alumni gave this, it still would not make up. I ain't saying make up. What I'm talking about is commitment. You cannot ask Deion to make a commitment that you don't make. You can't. Julianne Malvo is sitting on here right now. She can tell you how often she would call me. When I was at WVON radio, Roland, we got a group of girls, 4 or 5. They not coming back to school. I got to raise $30,000 to keep these girls in school. Can you mention it on the radio? Can you give out the website? Julianne, ain't no problem. We can do that. And so what I'm trying to say, black people, is we can't sit here and say, well, we haven't got funding from the state. We're not getting the money from corporate America, but then we don't give. We can't make the excuses go, well, you know, I ain't got it. When every single one of us spends money on what we want to spend money on. And all I'm saying is if you are an HBCU graduate, send something back. You can't send 1,000. You can't send 500. You can't send 100. You can't send 50. Okay, fine. Commit, I'm going to send my school $1 a month. That's $12 a year. Y'all, numbers don't lie. If 1,000 graduates send $12 a year, that's more money than they gave last year. So what I'm trying to get us to understand is we've got to stop being so emotional because of what Deion did. And what we should be saying again, and see, and let me just keep going here. We should be saying, well, and when I'm buying school gear, am I buying school gear from folks who have paid a licensing fee, or am I buying bootleg? Do I spend more money coming back for homecoming on airfare, car rental, food, liquor, and hotel than I do to the school? See, again, you can be mad at Deion all day. I'm asking for a collective commitment. And if y'all think, oh, I'm just sitting here talking, I keep telling y'all, go listen to Dr. King's speech, April 3rd, 1968, at Mason Temple, when he said black people individually are poor, yet collectively we represent one of the wealthiest economies in the world. And so if we're going to be about that, then what I desire for us is to have a fervor for black institutions and not just talk about it. Now, if you one of the folks and you stepping up and doing what's right, good. But what I'm telling you is, it's a lot of us selling wolf tickets. It's a lot of us talking and not doing. It's a lot of us not giving. It's a lot of us not supporting. And I know, I can see some of y'all right now, and I can see some, and here's what's interesting. Because I've already some of y'all comments, yeah, see, you talking, but you didn't go to an HBCU. My high school was right across the street from one, and they never recruited me, even though I was the #1 communication student at my high school. But I can bet you, if I was a #1 football player, or the #1 basketball player, they would have come across the street. Prairie View was down the street, 50 minutes. They will often visit Jack Yates, never recruited me. So I made a decision because my brother was there at A&M. My parents, I thought about it. I don't think my parents, in my brother's 4 years, my 4 years, my sister's 4 years, I don't think my parents collectively sent the 3 of us combined $1,000. I had 2 sisters at home. So I went to A&M for the academic scholarship. I followed the money. So don't come at me saying, well, why didn't I go? Easy. I followed the money. But what's interesting is there are people who go to HBCUs who want to say, well, you can't say nothing, but then you don't mind my check. When Robert Smith paid off the graduation debt at Morehouse, Robert didn't go to no HBCU. He went to Cornell. See, so don't come at me with that because you don't mind that PWI graduate money when it comes in. What is required right now are for black folks to walk the walk about supporting black institutions. So when you're watching Love and Hip Hop and giving them your eyeballs, that ain't black-owned media. When you are supporting, when you're looking at Complex, that's owned by BuzzFeed. That's not black-owned media. BET's owned by Viacom CBS. And so when I hear people get righteous and indignant about Deion, I got to ask you, what are you doing every day of your life to support what is black-owned? And the fact of the matter is, if you ain't got no black lawyer or a black dentist or a black doctor or a black accountant or black cleaners, if you're not frequently supporting black restaurants, if you're not going to, is it a black-owned gas station, then all you doing is sitting on social media demanding something of him that you ain't doing yourself. And if you want to talk about black institutions and voting, if you ain't sending no check to Black Voters Matter or New Georgia Project or Georgia Stand Up or on and on, then what you're doing, again, is complaining and hoping somebody else do something that you can't do. So Deion goes to Colorado. Deion, good luck. Whoever's the next head coach at Jackson State, good luck. I'll be at Jackson State's campus giving the commencement speech on Friday. And I'm telling y'all right now, I'm going to say the same thing to the graduates there. If you love Jackson State, if you love Mississippi Valley State and Alabama A&M and Alabama State and Texas Southern and Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M and Morgan and Howard and Morehouse and Spelman and Paul Quinn and Wiley and on and on and on, if you actually love it, show it with your money.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Don't wait till November 8th. We can vote today, y'all. Early vote started this week.
We're on Savannah State University's campus. We will be dorm storming today, giving our treats for everyone. We hope to see everyone at the polls when it comes to November.
If you believe we got power, let them know. Make some noise. Put a fist up. I need to see a fist in the air because we got power. Come on, you put it up. Come get your shirt. We're out here in the streets of Savannah, Georgia. James, do not forget to go vote. I got you. If we vote the right people in, we can make a change. We can get these resources in our community.
I am a woman, and it is important that we have the say-so of what we want to do with our bodies.
We're concentrating on entrepreneurism, providing young people with resources and training that they need in order to change their trajectories. We want Black down. Democracy is on the ballot. Voting rights is on the ballot. Voting suppression is on the ballot. I am most passionate about those three combined because they all impact each other.
Savannah is my home. I care about my community, and I care about representation in my community.
Our voices are still going to be heard no matter what kind of obstacles try to come up against us to stop us from voting. We're still going to be standing our ground.
I see the effort that's being made to keep our communities from voting. So that makes me realize it's even more important, because if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be fighting to make sure we couldn't vote.
This doesn't stop this year. This is a forever movement.
We're going to exert our power as a people, walk in our rightful place. We're going to change our communities, fight for our communities, and build our communities.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
A real revolution.
revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now. We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?